Hi guys and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zwannda, and in this channel we talk about all things personal finance, exploring all the financial investment vehicles that are out there, making sure that we rightfully use them towards our goals and ultimately achieve that financial freedom. In this video today, I'm not alone. As you can see, I have Palesa. Her name is Palesa, as I mentioned. She is an author of a book called Stokvel and how they can make your money work for you. Welcome, Palesa.
Thank you so much for having me, Zwannda. Great to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, and I have to say I really enjoyed your book. I loved how you just unpacked the concept of Stokvel. I think if someone was to ask me to talk about Stokvels before I read your book, I couldn't even get to a paragraph, but you really unpacked everything, even the things that I knew, but you really put it together in a way that is more understandable and relatable. I think one of the points that I like is how impactful they have been in our society, especially for Black people, right? So I just want you to briefly introduce yourself and just tell us how you came about writing the book.
Thank you so much. So it was quite a journey. Obviously, I'm from a Stokvel household. That's how I got introduced into Stokvels. My mom used to use Stokvels as a side hustle. To increase her income to be able to take us to school actually. So Stokfels have been had that soft spot for me even when I went to go study further and whatever. But to be honest, I didn't think that I'll be involved with them any further than what we know what they were, because it was just the borrowing Stokvel and the grocery Stokvel. So I didn't know how I'm gonna use it in my modern way. But when I did come to Joburg and studied finance and got into the finance industry, I specifically went into an industry, the pension fund industry, the investment side of it. And I saw how they use groups to invest, but obviously in a more formalized way. So in my head, immediately when I got introduced to that concept, I immediately thought, aren't these the things that my mom and them do at home?
Yes.
Like, that's interesting. I wonder how they're doing it this side here. So just out of curiosity, I just wanted to find out, how do Stokfells work around here, like in Gauteng, and started finding around. And then as I did research, that's where I saw that there's a bit of lack of continuity in terms of progress of where we are. Stokfells really just only buying groceries and loaning each other. By the way, there's nothing wrong with those, but I just wanted to find out if there is something beyond those that are doing now, especially because we're in Gauteng. They must be doing something more clever. So but then I found out that there's still lack of information, but that was not what made me write the book. I was really genuinely interested in finding out if they've got enough information in terms of financial education and financial wellness to be able to participate in industries like the investment space. So that's when I came across a Stokvel Academy and I started lecturing there. The rest is history.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's when you started writing the book.
Yes. Well, I started putting money together. I mean, not money. Hey, I'm so used to putting money together. I started documenting in terms of what are the needs of Stokvels, what do other Stokvels do, how can they improve that. But for me, that was to improve the financial content that I was going to be lecturing at the academy. It was not necessarily for the book. So the book, when they say luck must get you when you are ready.
Yes. Oh, I see.
Luck comes for the ready. So when a book opportunity came, luckily I had the content, even though it was not for the book. So that's how preparation actually made me ready in terms of
that's
that.
really great. That's amazing. That's amazing. You have an amazing journey, the Stokvel journey as well, right? And I have learned your Stokvel experience through your book, obviously, but I've also heard you speak about how you have six Stokvels on several occasions, actually. So for some of us who only know Stokvels as the grocery Stokvels and the saving Stokvels, what are other Stokvels that maybe you might be involved in that people maybe are not really aware of, and what are the benefit of those?
Okay. So for me, Stokvels is definitely of the way that I raise capital in order to invest, basically,
Okay.
because I don't have a large money to invest. So as I said, my profession is around investments a lot. So I have seen the benefits practically of investing. But one thing that has always, especially earlier in my career, that has always been a problem was capital. So it's like, where do
Yeah.
people get so much money to invest? So
Yes.
for I'm like, actually, if 2 or 3 people would come together and actually put this, we would actually be able to match that capital that is required to
Yeah.
be able to do this. How about we just stockfelled it? And then when I got into I first introduced the concept, obviously because they knew it, but the way I wanted us to trial it out with my
Yeah.
friends was like, let's come together, open a bank account, and buy shares in the Easy Equities platform and see if they allow groups. It was back in the day, revealing my age. So we got into that. I'm like, no, I'm ready to trial it out. I'm gonna do the documentation, and I'm gonna go to Easy Equities to their offices and see how they can accommodate us. And that's how we're gonna try. And they're like, no, we are in. And since you know investments, we're just gonna follow your lead, and we're gonna do our own research also. And that's how the first investment club was part of that, which is still going on now. We have invested like over 60,000 now over the 5 years that we have started
That's great.
the thing. The other stockfells are quite formalized. We have the People Stokvel that is now a cooperative financial Stokvel. So it was just a normal Stokvel where everybody just put money together and said, we want to solve a problem of funding for small businesses out there, and especially the ones that are excluded by the banks and the formal institutions. Let's do that with what we can, and let's make it as affordable as possible. So we put the 100 rands together, and entrepreneurs would come and borrow the money to the group and whatever. So we got ambitious and said, actually, why don't we open a bank? We didn't know what it takes at the time, but it took such a long while even to just get at CFI level, which is the corporate financial institution, which is regulated by the South African Reserve Bank. So now we actually have the license as a Stokvel to be able to borrow our members funds, which are entrepreneurs in terms of what they want to do with their business. That's the second Stokvel. I'm also in another Stokvel for property.
Yes.
I've always been fascinated by property investments, but in terms of ownership and in terms of doing it on the side, I wanted a way of starting without me to actually requiring me $1 million to go get a house or a 500,000 to go get a house. So I found the people within the Stokvel network that are actually doing it correctly and legitimately in terms of that. So I joined that Stokvel, Sakisizo Stokvel. And that is one of my Stokvels. I love traveling, so I'm also in a travel Stokvel.
Okay. Yes.
I'm in a travel Stokvel. Unfortunately, we've not been able to travel the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So that money has been put there forever. But what we used to do before 2020 is that every year we'd choose, we'd vote on a country we want to visit outside the country, and we'd put money from the beginning according to the prices in that country and everything. And that's the other Stokvel. Another Stokvel that I am in is just a social Stokvel with my friends, where we are assisting each other in terms of business ideas. If somebody's got an idea but they need capital for that. So capital for that, we put that money into capital, but obviously we have something in agreement that, okay, if this does get off the ground, this is how we can make a payment bank arrangement. Obviously, whether it's through interest, whether it's through equity, depends on the person that is doing that. And so that's another one. And then another one is just an education Stokvel that I'm just part of. Obviously, that is run by the main initiator, where she's helping rural area schools in terms of building for them, or improving the type of buildings that they are schooling in rural schools. Also, we put money into that, and then she takes that money and they either build a new school or improve a certain school that they have identified to be disadvantaged to do that. So all these things, we wouldn't be able to do them. Yes, it's nice to say this is what we can do, whatever, but alone it becomes difficult. We've got responsibilities, we've got things to pay for. So for me, how I'm using Stokvels is, I've got a farming Stokvel too. That's the last one. From the networks of Stokvels, again, one of the guy owns a chicken farm, but he struggles a lot with capital to get his supplies fast enough and all that. So we came together and said, we can actually provide you with this capital as a Stokvel. We're going to put mine together and we're going to run the numbers in terms how can you pay us back in terms of that. It's an investment. So some of these investments are formal and some are non-formal. But the basics of it is raising capital to get into opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily be able to afford alone. So that's how I'm using the Stokvel model as an investor.
That's really amazing, because I think all in all, it teaches us about the power that we have, right, as a collective, because that's something that I feel like we lack, because we all have our small pockets as individuals, and collectively we have a very huge financial muscle that can allow us to tap into spaces that, like you mentioned, if we were to do it ourselves, it would take forever, or loans that we might not even be able to repay. So, and also, I like the fact that you were highlighting that it's group of people coming together. So for a group of people to come together and work successfully, there has to be a structure in place, right? A structure that guides them in the operation and the functionality of things. So how important is the constitution of a stockfell? And if I am looking into getting into new stockfell, what are the things that I need to look out for on the constitution?
So that is very important. The first and foremost, the principles and the currency of Stokvels still stay the same. And number one is that the trust and the common goal. So number one, as much as now with technology, we are able to join Stokvels with people that we don't know and they are legit and everything. But there needs to be some kind of trust element, and that comes with you doing your own due diligence in terms of looking for things in the constitution to be able for you to say, okay, I think this gives me confidence to actually join this. And then secondly, it's a common goal. You can't just come together if you don't agree. I can't go join a fashion Stokvel, for example, if I'm not even into fashion. You know? There's nothing wrong with the fashion Stokvel, but it's not a common goal that I would want to get involved in, at least for now. So there needs to be that thing. So people, what I've seen in terms of structure that make mistakes in, you join a Stokvel because you are perceiving it as successful, is doing well. But what they are doing in that Stokvel, is it a common goal that you also want to do? So if you want to go into a property Stokvel, you cannot join a grocery Stokvel. So there needs to be a common goal that, okay, this is a property Stokvel, they are buying property or they are investing in property. So that's the common goal I need to go. Now, second thing, and everybody has agreed, very important in terms, because if there's no common goal, it's not a Stokvel, basically. Then secondly, it would be like, okay, I'm interested in property. So they are using a Stokvel in order to invest in property. The constitution, how does that work? What are the details that are very important to look into? Number one is the fact that a constitution first and foremost exists, because other people just come together and just agree verbally and go start doing things. There is nothing in place. So the governing of the group needs to be a constitution, and a well put constitution. And that's why it's important when you are going to, especially if you are going to invest as a group, very important for the administration to be top notch. So that constitution, number one, needs to be maybe a constitution that has been professionally done. Yes, as a group, you might have put your inputs together and then take it to a lawyer or an accountant, just for you guys not to miss the blind spots that an ordinary person would have missed, or somebody that doesn't work with anything to do with governance or would just miss. So you need to find out if there is a a structure in place in terms of leadership, so which means there's a board that is constituted in the constitution with relevant qualification. Obviously, if it's a property stockfell, someone in the board must be a property expert.
Yes.
Those are the things you ask when you have asked for the constitutions. Like, guys, since you're investing in property, who is in property in all of this leadership?
Yeah.
And then number 2, how much is the contributions? How are you investing in whatever you are investing in, whether it's equities, whether it's property, whether it's businesses. If you're investing in equity, what equities are you using? Which platform are you using? Is it registered?
Yeah.
Are you using a registered account? Are there members fairly? Is there some kind of code of conduct in the constitution? Is it signed in terms of everybody agreed on it? Do whatever investments that they claim in the constitution really do exist? So those are just some of the things that you look out to into the investment when you're doing your own due diligence, when you're about to join a stockfell. Stockfells that usually don't even want you to see their constitution are usually suspicious.
Yes, you gotta start questioning more. You gotta start questioning more. And I like the common goal point that you mentioned there, because I've been in one stockfell where it was people who are young professionals, so they were committed in terms of contributing the money. However, we lacked common goal. Like, there was not an agreement in regards to where exactly are we going to invest the money. So the money is there. The money was there because it's not working anymore. So the money was there. However, we could not move on because there was no agreement in the beginning to say, this is where we need to invest. Someone was saying, oh, let's save until we can afford to buy a house. Someone was saying, let's invest in equities. And those disagreements ended up breaking the stockfell itself. So I started thinking, if ever we had agreed, had the common goal, as we were putting the constitution together from the get-go, we would have an idea that, okay, maybe phase 1 is property and phase 2 will be equities. And then, we would easily govern the operation of the stockfell and the things which we were supposed to do, right? So for me, one of the greatest benefits that I feel like comes with stockfell has to be the discipline that comes with saving. It instilled discipline. I mean, you are counting to other people, right? So it's something that I feel like as South Africans, Stokvel has helped us with that. I know we are known as a country that doesn't really save, but I feel like in that aspect, Stokvel has played a huge role in assisting people to commit into saving and also staying out of debt. If you're contributing cement stockfell, you get to build without even going and asking for a loan, right? However, the way we are currently or most of people are currently operating on stockfells is by putting money in the bank, right? And the banks, the interest rate they give is too low, so we don't really benefit. It's not necessarily an investment. It's just putting money for it to be safe, right? So, and also the management fees kind of reduce that interest rate close to nothing. And I do understand that people today know that there's investment, there's more that they can get out of their money. So what can you tell a stockfell group that has saved and now is interested in investment? And what are the things that they need to start looking into to transform?
So funny enough, the example you made around common goal happens a lot. Where we thought this money that we are contributing, we're going to do this.
Yes.
Only the other one think it was like that. It's very important when you are when you are putting together, even if it's just a draft as a group, to even vote on the ideas what you want to do with the money, and then constitute it and then take it to the professionals to put it nicely. So yeah, interesting. But in terms of group savings and then now wanting to go into investments, again, it talks to not that people don't know about investments. It talks to financial education. It talks to financial exposure. It talks to financial inclusion and exclusion of it. It talks to not enough insights specifically targeted at groups for that. So people just don't know where to start in terms of that. And that's partly why I wrote the book, why I have a podcast, and why I also like talking about there are so much you can do with your savings. Look, saving on its own as a stockfell, it's a great benefit, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Number one, it keeps you to the habit of accountability. You don't want to disappoint your fellow stockfell members in terms of that. It keeps you to the goal. It's easier to save with other people than alone, because you are holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Number two, it is actually contributing to the increase of the savings culture in South Africa in terms of stockfells. It's just that now it's not happening at a increased rate because a lot of people are still thinking of stockfells only the old way of doing it. The stockfells are just saving for the money to put in the bank and then go buy groceries or bury each other or borrow the money into each other. But there are actually ways where you can use your saved money to invest it. So first and foremost, obviously the fact that you're already a stockfell that has a bank account means you already have your figures and your leadership team in place. Now you want to invest. It needs to be something now that you agree as a group that, okay, want our money to work for us now. And as much as we've been doing well with savings, we can continue saving, but we can invest some of the money. First and foremost, have your documentation in place. Nominate the person that you are authorizing to be dealing with the investment manager. Obviously, an investment manager or investment platform doesn't want to deal with all 10 of you. So the group has to nominate somebody that is actually liars and be the authorized person in writing and signing that will represent the group in terms of now investing. They usually want that letter first and foremost, the constitution and the ID members of the authorized signatories, or the authorized, depending on the investment manager, or the ID numbers. The ID copies of the stockfell member groups. That's all they need, and then the bank account so that they can actually either debit or money be transferred from that account to be able to do that. First and once the documentation now is put in place, you have gotten into the door. Now, in terms of what investments to invest in, now that needs education, that needs research, that needs consultations, so that you don't investing for the sake of saying we are a stockfell that invest. You actually want to invest in things that gonna make your money work for you. So that's why it's important to again use professionals if you can. You have the power in terms of funds to actually pay for these things. What I found with stockfells that sometimes they don't want to pay.
It's true,
and that's how their progress is delayed. Because now you could have actually just gotten either a financial planner or a financial coach or investment. And usually these places actually even offer their own professionals to help you guys. Like, okay, we've got these products that are for you. This usually works for you. I've got something that is a risk appetite template on the book, which usually helps a group. Because a lot of people be like, oh, guys, now I've heard somebody says money gets eaten there or the market doesn't perform and they haven't done much, a lot of so you need to be considerate of other people also. If most of your group are not high risk members, you're gonna have to go for products that are not high risk. And if most of you guys like, no, let's just go in there, we are going for this in the long term anyway, let's go the aggressive way. Also, you are able to assess that via the doing a risk assessment of your own group, so that you are able to also communicate with this professional maybe you're gonna be dealing with at the investment manager or platform thing. Like these are the ones you think. If you've got such as part of your stockfell members, even a greater benefit, because now you can appoint that person as the authorized person who will say, guys, these are the maybe shares that are doing well or that have been doing well. I've done the research. Do you guys agree that I go buy these now? And then they say, okay, since you've done the research and you've presented your thing, we are agreeing that we are going into this. This is how much it's going to need. So part of the money that we have contributed can go into that. So basically, that is the simplistic view of how you can start investing as a group or as a stock
Yes.
firm.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that answer. I think it gives insights in terms of, where they can go and look. I mean, yes, you still need to go and do your due diligence as well as to what is the overall process and what type of investments you can go and invest in. And I think for me, the highlight to your answer was financial education, that you need to at least have insights of what you are getting yourselves into, because if you're investing in shares, there's potential loss there. So if people understand what they're getting themselves into, then it makes it easier. So I know you have a company that is called Palengo Holdings, that focuses on educating and empowering people as well as businesses on financial education. So what are the services that you offer to Stokvels? Do you have any, and how can someone who's looking into maybe using your services go about?
So we have services specifically customized for groups and stockfells and investment clubs, and we also have individual groups category where it's more about financial wellness, the whole process from A to Z, whether you want to invest, whether you want to save, whether you just want to learn how to manage your finances. We offer the education, not the advice, the drill.
Yes.
On terms of that. So it's more of a financial coaching service than anything in terms of the individuals. And then in terms of groups, we do quite a lot then with our groups. Also, we do financial coaching for the groups. We do the normal stockfell coaching from constitution to the end. We also have programs that run every 6 months that we coach groups, whatever they want to invest in order how to run their stockfell efficiently, and if their investment stockfell, and we also offer terms of investor education in that sense, and hold their hand from beginning to the end until they're able to stand on their own. So, but we also do workshops, we do online consultations with stockfell, and also those stockfell, especially something that has become very popular the past 2 years, formalizing into a legal entity. We help with that process. So if you're a stockfell and say we want to formalize into a company or a cooperative or a trust, we are able to assist that. Usually those are stockfells like with big visions where they want to someday maybe be an investment company or a bank, or want to invest in something that actually needs a legal entity. So we assist with that process. We also partner a lot and collaborate with other stockfell leaders if we are not the expertise in that in that field. Like, for example, with the property, if you are a stockfell that want to go through the stockfell program, but at the end of it you want to invest in property. So we will do our part, and then after that pass you to the property expert that will be able to do with that. So basically that's what we do, but it's all financial wellness and financial education and financial coaching around groups and individuals.
That's really amazing, because I think South Africans in general are starting to embrace the idea of doing more with their stockfels. So having to have places like Palengo Holdings where they can go and consult, it's really amazing. One of the topics that makes me realize that people just wanna, they wanna do more. It's property stockfel. I think after every week, I see a post about property stockfell somewhere. Either someone is looking for one or someone is just advertising one, right? So, Pale, I know you mentioned that you're in one. How does it work? Like, have you been in one that has been successful? And
well, the current one I'm in is successful, I think.
great. That's great, because we would like to hear
because
that.
honestly, as you're saying, we also get a lot of inquiries around property stockfells, but we have also learned a lot of blind spots, and there's a lot of scams around property stockfels, to be
yes.
honest. So you need to be very careful when you are looking for a property stockfel and what exactly they are doing this property stockfel, because there are various ways of doing property stockfel.
Yes.
So just saying I'm a property stockfel, I'm looking for members who are gonna buy each other's houses, you need to go whatever. I think why it has such, and I've seen this on Twitter,
Yes, that's what I was
bad
laughing.
reputation is because of the ones that really have popped up. The mess just doesn't add up.
Yep.
And you're just wondering, how do you guys pay 200 rand each, and there's 10 of you, and you're gonna buy 1 million each other's houses
After every 2 years, that's what it said.
No, man. So when you see those things, you can actually understand why people would be like, property stockfels are scams.
Yeah.
Because the ones that have really been getting the limelight are so scammy, and they overshadow the ones that are actually that actually working and have structures in place. So there are 3 ways you can property stockfel that I have personally seen work, and I'm not criticizing the ones that are not doing outside these.
Okay.
Disclaimer.
Okay.
The most simplest way is when people are contributing to invest in listed properties. So which means one of their goals in their constitution is to say, we are only going to be concentrating on property companies. We're going to either be doing easy properties, or we're going to be doing shares in property companies like your Growth Point and stuff. And we're also going to be concentrating on property ETFs. So basically, we have an agreement that first and foremost, we are a property stockfel that is right now only looking at listed property stockfels. So you do the normal process of investing like a person that would be investing in equities. It's just that now your market that you are focusing on is property. So I've seen some groups doing that and doing it very successfully as a start. That is the most easiest way. The second way is when people are investing in property for passive purposes, not for passive income purposes, not for ownership. So this is when we are saying we as a stockfel have the power to raise capital, but we don't have the resources to be searching for property and knowing which one is a good area and doing that. So we're gonna go and partner with a property company that is a legit property company.
Yes, legit.
That is actually doing this for a living on an everyday basis. They are sourcing property to rent out or whatever, and you get this a lot. But they don't have funders to be able to partner with this. So you're like, hey, we can raise 500,000. You guys have 1 million, and you say you have found a property costing 1.5 million. Get into a formal agreement with lawyers and everything, where you are saying we are giving you this 500,000 in order for us to collaborate on this property investment that you are doing. Whatever money you are coming out from purchasing that, you are going to give us our return back equivalent to how much we have put in. It's a very simple agreement, but it's a formal agreement where lawyers need to be involved. You are just partnering with a property company that is already doing property. That's when you are investing in property for passive income purposes. You're not going to be owning that property that is being purchased by this property company. It's probably going to be owned by them or something, but you are going to be getting money's worth of your 500,000 that you have contributed. That is the second way that I've seen. One of the ways that the stockfel that I'm in is doing it. The second one that is also divided into 2 parts also is when a stockfel actually formalize either into a trust or a company in order to be able to purchase a property. You can become a company, nominate who are going to be the directors, and the rest of the members are going to be the shareholders. And then the shareholding value is going to be determined by how much you're contributing. The properties are going to belong to the company. Whatever money the property makes is going to be put to the company, and then that money is going to be distributed to the shareholders. Same with the trust. You come to a trust, everybody else become a trustee. You nominate the trustees, everybody else becomes beneficiaries, which is the most popular way of doing it because people want to usually leave things like property to their kids and stuff. So then you formalize into a trust. Obviously, formalizing to a trust needs lawyers and professionals, and it's quite costly. But you decide that as a stockfell that we are willing to pay that as an expense. And then all the properties are going to fall under this trust now. And then the money that property makes is distributed to the trustees and the beneficiaries of that. That's we also doing that way in our property. That is the most legit way I have seen property stockfelling happening out of my personal experience. We've gotten our money back. You get our returns per month according to how much you have contributed. So I've literally have been getting passive income as little as it is. If I've invested 10,000, I might be getting only 300 rand per month. But fact is, I am getting back 300 per month because of the structures put in place in order to property stockfell. In order for the others buying each other houses in 2 years when you've contributed 200 rand, I can honestly not attest for that because I haven't experienced this. But I have seen these 3 ways work for other people in terms of property stockfelling. A lot of people that were not even able to afford property being able to invest in property via these ways.
So that's really amazing, Pale. Thank you for sharing your experience. So quick question. Do you have a stockfell right now in property that is looking to take people in?
Our property stockfell for the passive income is always looking for people. It gets complicated with the trust one because now it's beneficiaries, it's owners and whatever. One thing I forgot to mention is that you need to be very careful when you're getting into a property stockfell also in terms of what property they are investing in. So it becomes so generic when you're saying I'm joining a property stockfell. Are they investing in property for passive, for ownership, listed, student accommodation, residential, or are you buying each other's houses? For me personally, that's how I would suss out a property stockfell. Number one, I don't want the ones where people are buying each other's houses because I don't want to wait forever until I own property or until I make money. I'd rather do that by myself. Also, the governance around it, I still don't understand it, and that's why I didn't mention it in my 3.1. And then, importantly, for passive, don't be expecting because you know how now we are very clever. Where is our ownership? You invested for passive. You just want money. You're not going to be owning the property. So don't be saying, there are scams. You haven't seen a deed. What? Be careful that you agree. The type of stockfell you are in is the one that is aligned to what you want, and don't accuse people of scams just because you don't understand how they were doing it. The owners one also understand now it's no more just passive. You are taking all the risk. You are the owner. So if there's no tenant in your property, don't expect passive income from an empty house. So you also need to consider those things. Do I want to invest for ownership or for passive income? With ownership, it comes with all the risks of being a owner. With passive income, you're just a funder, basically. So usually that's when the people like being they are more onto that one. It's always open to the public. The problem with the owners one is everything, like especially because we chose the vehicle trust as the one that's gonna hold all these properties we're investing in. Every time there's a new person, you have to make a resolution. That's money. So we try raise the money by ourselves so that to cut costs of every new in and out people and whatever, but it is open in that way. So what we like saying, at least if people come in with 5 5s, at least it's worth the expense. Because the lawyer, every time there's a new person, new invoice. With the funders, anybody can invest, can join that one. It's like a property stockfell on Stokvel app, and they need a minimum of 10,000. And I'm not sure what's the monthly amount now. I need to check because they just had an AGM, so things have changed. But basically, it's usually 10,000 per month. It's for passive purposes, and when you want to just passive, not ownership. Because I'm making that example because we had gotten, it was like, you guys says we own properties. Where is the deed? Where is the title deed? And we're like, but we also don't own. We just funders. So there's funders and owners within the property. I think is again common goal, very important when you're getting into a property. What type of property stockfell do you want to get into?
Goes back to reading that constitution before you join, knowing exactly what you want. So one last question that I have for you. I think as individuals or as the community, we have evolved so much in Stokvel. I mean, yes, it could most probably be slow because we are doing it ourselves. And previously, the things that we used to do required the support of financial institution, right? So, and the financial institution has been very slow in incorporating or our needs as stockfells into their operation, like creating products that are more suitable for for stockfells. So, what are we doing to maybe push more or accelerate the process? Are we even doing that, if you know, or are we just trying to do things that work for us by ourselves?
Ish. It's really hard. So for the past 7 years, I've worked with Stokvels and Group and worked in financial institutions. I've been like
Yes.
trying to be the facilitator between the Stokvel industry and the financial institution. And it's been such a mission and a half because you feel like you are just the small person among these big things and nobody's hearing your voice. And I'll tell you, from being in both has been so interesting. From the financial institutions perspective, it hasn't evolved in a manner that would actually fully accommodate a modern Stokvel, where I need an internet banking, where I need debit orders on my Stokvel account, where I need a home loan of some sort in terms of benefit, like a normal things that I would need as an individual, but it just means that I'm just in a Stokvel.
Yes.
Financial institutions haven't accommodated that, and that includes even the investment institutions, where they would find that the process of investing as a group is still so manual versus when you are alone, everything is just click, click, click,
Exactly.
click. But when you are comparing the numbers in terms of, you'd find that a Stokvel is bringing 100,000, a person is bringing 1,000 rand, and that you are making a customer that is bringing 1,000 rand more convenient their life rather than somebody who's a group that is bringing 100,000. It doesn't make sense. But I've grown to understand of they don't fully understand the customer that they are serving. So it's up to the two industries to come together. But each industry does need to put more effort in terms of this partnership to work. I always say it's a partnership, not a competition, because they're each benefiting out of this. The Stokvel industries, which is the Stokvel people that are invested in Stokvels in terms of they will really want to use this model, needs to be more, they need to contribute more in terms of giving the institution ideas in terms of how can they be better, be served, rather than just not saying we're not going to use institutions, we're going to do this on our own. You actually can be a more benefit if you actually work with the institutions and put forward the ideas on how you want to be treated and served, and so that the relationship is mutually benefiting. And then from an institution side, whether it's a financial institution in terms of investments or banks, is to actually understand the customer that you are serving in terms of their needs. Don't just give them a product that you discussed in the boardroom and thought it will be enough, just like all these years just being lazy deposits and with small interest. Actually find out if it's a property Stokvel, how can you help those members within that in terms of home loans and everything.
Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to check the book out. It's called Stokvel by Palesa. So also you can find it on her page. You can go to the link that she has on her bio, and also on Exclusive Books or Bargain Books. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please let me know in the comment section what has been the highlight for you of the video. Goodbye.